I never thought I'd be in this situation, but here I am. My name is Lily, 28F, and I'm engaged to Alex, 30mm. We've been together for 5 years and are planning our wedding for next summer. Everything was going great until a few weeks ago when my parents dropped a bombshell on me. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew everyone else's business. My parents, Linda, 58F, and Robert, 60M, were well-respected members of the community. Dad owned a successful local hardware store, and Mom was a teacher at the elementary school. They were always involved in community events and had a wide circle of friends. Among these friends were the Millers, Tom, 55M, and Karen, 53F. The Millers were fixtures in our lives for as long as I can remember. They'd come over for barbecues, we'd go on camping trips together, and their kids were around my age. On the surface, they seemed like the perfect family friends. But as I got older, I started to notice things that made me uncomfortable. Karen always had a way of making backhanded compliments that left you feeling worse about yourself. Tom had a habit of joking in ways that felt more like bullying. Their kids seemed to take after them, always finding ways to one-up others or spread gossip. But my parents never saw it that way. To them, the Millers were salt-of-the-earth people who could do no wrong. When I was 23, fresh out of college with a degree in marketing, I landed a job with a startup in the city, about 3 hours away from my hometown. It was an exciting opportunity, but the city was expensive, and entry-level salaries don't go far in a place like that. I was struggling to find an affordable place to live when the Millers made an offer that seemed too good to refuse. They owned a small guest house on their property in the suburbs, about an hour from the city. They offered to rent it to me for only $300 a month, a fraction of what I'd pay anywhere else. My parents were thrilled, seeing it as a perfect solution. They assured me that living close to family friends would make the transition to city life easier. At first, it seemed great. The guest house was small but comfortable, and the commute wasn't too bad. But soon, things started to change. The Millers, especially Karen, became increasingly involved in my life. She'd drop by unannounced, often when I was just getting home from work. She'd comment on the hours I kept, the clothes I wore, even the food in my fridge. Tom wasn't much better. He'd corner me when I was leaving for work, wanting to chat about politics or give me unsolicited career advice. It felt invasive, but I tried to brush it off. After all, they were doing me a favor with the cheap rent, right? Things got worse when I started dating Alex. We met at a coffee shop near my office. He was a regular there too, working as a software developer for a tech company. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of sci-fi books and indie music. He was kind, funny, and supportive. Everything I could want in a partner. But the Millers didn't see it that way. From the moment they met Alex, they were cold and dismissive. They made snide comments about his background. He grew up in foster care, and even suggested to my parents that he was only with me for my money. Ironically, Alex makes more than I do. They started spreading rumors in the neighborhood that I was running wild in the city, staying out all hours with my delinquent boyfriend. The worst part was how they treated Alex when he'd come to visit. They'd make pointed comments about his clothes, which were perfectly normal, just not as preppy as they preferred, or joke about whether he knew who his real parents were. It was cruel and unnecessary, but whenever I tried to stand up to them, they'd act like I was being overly sensitive. The final straw came when the Miller's daughter, Zoe, 17F at the time, started hanging around me more. She was struggling in school and having issues with her parents, and I tried to be a supportive older friend. We'd talk about her problems, and I'd offer advice when I could. I thought I was being a good role model, but the Millers saw it differently. They accused me of being a bad influence on Zoe, claiming I was encouraging her to rebel against them. They even had a family meeting where they laid out all my supposed faults in front of my parents, my late hours, my inappropriate relationship with Alex, my negative influence on Zoe. To my shock and disappointment, my parents sat there nodding along, as if everything the Millers said must be true. After that, I knew I couldn't stay there anymore. I found a small apartment in the city, even though it meant stretching my budget to the breaking point. When I told the Millers I was moving out, they acted hurt and offended, as if I was being ungrateful for all they'd done for me. My parents were disappointed, telling me I was being hasty and should try to work things out with the Millers. I thought that moving out would be the end of it. I limited my interactions with the Millers to brief, polite exchanges when I'd visit my parents. Alex and I continued dating, eventually, moving in together and getting engaged. Life was good, and I thought I'd put the whole Miller situation behind me. Fast forward to now. Alex and I are planning our wedding, and my parents dropped the bomb. They want me to invite the Millers. I refused, explaining how much stress and anxiety the Millers had caused me. To my shock, my parents said if the Millers aren't invited, they won't attend the wedding. I'm heartbroken and confused. How can my parents choose their friends over their own daughter? I've tried explaining my side, but they won't listen. They keep insisting that the Millers were just trying to protect me and that I'm being ungrateful. They say I'm rewriting history and that my memories of that time are distorted. Alex is furious on my behalf, but he's letting me handle it. His parents, who are generously paying for most of the wedding, are bewildered by my parents' behavior. They've offered to uninvite the Millers themselves if it would help, but I know that would only make things worse with my parents. I don't want to cave in. The thought of seeing the Millers on what's supposed to be the happiest day of my life makes me sick. I can already imagine the snide comments they'd make, the way they'd try to make the day about them. But the idea of getting married without my parents there is equally devastating. Am I being unreasonable? Should I just invite the Millers to keep the peace? Or should I stand my ground? I feel like I'm being forced to choose between my mental health and my relationship with my parents. How did what should be a joyous occasion turn into this nightmare? Update 1. It's been a week since my last post, and things have only gotten worse. I tried to have a calm, rational conversation with my parents about the whole Miller situation. It didn't go well. I invited them over for dinner, thinking a face-to-face conversation might help. Alex offered to be there for support, but I thought it might be better to talk to them alone, hoping they'd be more open without feeling ganged up on. As soon as they arrived, I could tell they were on edge. Mom kept fiddling with her necklace, a nervous habit she's had for as long as I can remember. Dad had that pinched look around his eyes that he gets when he's stressed. We managed to get through the meal with some stilted small talk about the weather and Dad's store, but as soon as I brought up the wedding, all hell broke loose. Mom burst into tears, accusing me of trying to erase their best friends from my life. She brought up all the times the Millers had been there. For our family. When Dad had his heart scare a few years back and the Millers helped out at the store, or when they'd watched me as a kid when Mom had to go take care of Grandma after her surgery. She made it sound like I was spitting on years of kindness and friendship. Dad got red in the face and started listing all the ways the Millers had helped me. Apparently, letting me stay in their guest house means I owe them eternal gratitude and a wedding invitation. He talked about how Tom had given me career advice, never mind that it was unsolicited and often condescending, and how Karen had looked out for me by keeping an eye on my comings and goings, completely glossing over how invasive it had felt. I tried to explain how the Millers had made me feel, how they'd spread rumors about me and Alex, how they'd invaded my privacy. I brought up specific incidents, like the time Karen had gone through my trash and lectured me about the takeout containers she found, or when Tom had cornered Alex and grilled him about his finances. But my parents weren't having it. They kept insisting that the Millers were just looking out for me, that I was too sensitive, that I was blowing things out of proportion. Mom said I was remembering things wrong, that I was twisting innocent actions into something malicious. Dad suggested that maybe I was projecting my own insecurities onto the Millers' genuine concern for me. The conversation quickly devolved into a shouting match. Years of pent-up frustration came pouring out. I told them how hurt I was that they never stood up for me, that they always took the Millers' side. I asked them why the Millers' feelings were more important than their own daughters. Mom said I was being selfish and ungrateful. She brought up how much they'd sacrificed for me over the years. The vacations they didn't take so they could pay for my college, the hours Dad spent helping me with my homework. She made it sound like I owed them this, like inviting the Millers was the least I could do to repay them for being good parents. Dad accused me of putting Alex and his family before them. He said I was choosing my new family over my real one, and that I'd regret it someday. I lost my cool and told them that at least Alex's family respected my feelings and decisions. That's when Dad dropped another bombshell. Apparently, the Millers have been investing in his business for years. He didn't go into details, but he practically admitted that he's afraid of what will happen if he doesn't invite them to the wedding. I was stunned. It felt like my parents were choosing money over me. I asked them point blank if their relationship with the Millers was more important than their relationship with me. They didn't answer directly, but their silence spoke volumes. The evening ended with Mom storming out in tears and Dad following her, but not before telling me that I needed to grow up and stop being so dramatic. He said I should think long and hard about whether I wanted to throw away my relationship with them over this. After they left, I broke down. All the stress and emotion of the past few weeks came crashing down on me. I called Alex and he came over immediately. I spent the night crying in his arms, feeling like my world was falling apart. He suggested we elope, but I don't want to give up on having the wedding we've been planning just because my parents are being unreasonable. I'm at a loss. Do I stand my ground and risk losing my parents? Do I give in and invite people who've caused me so much pain? How did a day that's supposed to be about love and family turn into this nightmare? Part of me wants to call the whole thing off and just elope like Alex suggested. Another part wants to go ahead with the wedding without my parents there. And a small, shameful part of me wonders if I should just give in and invite the Millers to keep the peace. I feel like no matter what I choose, I lose. If I invite the Millers, I'll be miserable on my wedding day and feel like I've betrayed myself. If I don't invite them and my parents follow through on their threat not to come, I'll always remember my wedding day as the day my parents chose their friends over me. How do I move forward from here? How do I make a decision I can live with? Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and things have taken an unexpected turn. I received a call from my Aunt Sophia, 55F, my mom's sister. She'd heard about the wedding drama from my mom and wanted to hear my side of the story. Aunt Sophia and I have always been close. She's the cool aunt who traveled the world, never married, and always brought back the most interesting gifts from her adventures. Growing up, I admired her independence and free spirit, even though I knew my mom sometimes disapproved of her lifestyle. I spent over an hour on the phone with Aunt Sophia, explaining everything that had happened with the Millers and my parents' reaction. To my surprise and relief, she was completely on my side. She revealed some family history I wasn't aware of, shedding new light on the whole situation. Apparently, this isn't the first time the Millers have caused problems in our family. Years ago, when I was too young to remember, they spread rumors about my Uncle Jack, 57M, Aunt Sophia's ex-husband. The rumors nearly cost him his job at the local bank. Aunt Sophia didn't go into all the details, but she said the Millers had accused Uncle Jack of some kind of financial impropriety. The whole thing caused a huge rift in the family. My mom had sided with the Millers then too, causing a split between her and Aunt Sophia that took years to heal. Aunt Sophia said she'd always regretted not standing up to the Millers more forcefully back then. What really shocked me was when Aunt Sophia suggested that there might be more to my parents' relationship with the Millers than I knew. She thinks they're in some kind of codependent relationship, though she's not sure of the details. She mentioned overhearing conversations years ago about shared investments and mutually assured destruction, whatever that means. All of this new information left my head spinning. It made me wonder how long the Millers have been manipulating my family, and why my parents seem so unable or unwilling to stand up to them. Armed with this new information, I decided to reach out to my parents one last time. I spent days drafting and redrafting an email, trying to strike the right balance between assertiveness and understanding. I wanted to make my position clear without burning bridges completely. In the email, I laid out everything: how the Millers had treated me, how hurt I was by their choice to side with the Millers over me, and the information Aunt Sophia had shared. I was careful not to accuse them of anything, but I did express my concern over the level of influence the Millers seemed to have over them. I made it clear that while I love them and want them at my wedding, I won't compromise on the Millers. I explained that this isn't about holding a grudge, but about protecting myself and my future husband from people who have consistently tried to undermine our relationship and my independence. I told them that if they choose not to come, I'll be heartbroken, but I'll respect their decision. I ended the email by saying that I hope they'll choose their daughter over the Millers, but that regardless of their choice, I'm going ahead with the wedding as planned. It wasn't easy hitting the send button on that email. Part of me was terrified of their response, while another part hoped that laying everything out like that might finally get through to them. It's been 3 days since I sent the email, and I haven't heard back from them. The silence is deafening, but in a way, it's also freeing. I feel like I've said everything I needed to say. Now the ball is in their court. Alex has been incredibly supportive through all of this. He's offered to reach out to my parents himself, but I've asked him not to. This is something I need to handle on my own. His parents have been wonderful too. They've assured me that no matter what happens with my parents, I'm part of their family now. We've decided to proceed with our wedding plans. Alex's parents have even offered to stand in for my parents during the ceremony if it comes to that. It's not what I imagined, but I'm starting to accept that it might be our reality. I'm trying to focus on the positive, marrying the love of my life, surrounded by people who truly support and love us. But I can't help hoping that my parents will come around before it's too late. Every time my phone buzzes, I find myself hoping it's them, ready to talk things out. For now, all I can do is wait and try to stay focused on the life Alex and I are building together. Whatever happens with my parents and the Millers, I know I'm making the right choice in marrying Alex. He's been my rock through all of this, and it's only made me more certain that he's the one I want to spend my life with. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and a lot has happened. First, the good news. Alex and I got married last weekend. It was a beautiful ceremony, filled with love and joy. But getting there wasn't easy. My parents never responded to my email. As the wedding day approached, I had to face the harsh reality that they weren't coming. It was hard, but I had amazing support from Alex, his family, and our friends. Aunt Sophia stepped up in a big way, offering to help with last-minute arrangements and providing emotional support throughout the process. The day before the wedding, I received a text from my mom. It was brief and cold. "Your father and I are disappointed in your choices, but we still love you." No mention of attending the wedding. I didn't respond. I couldn't bring myself to engage in another fruitless conversation. On the morning of the wedding, as I was getting ready with my bridesmaids, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Karen Miller. Somehow she'd found out about the wedding, I suspect through my parents. She started berating me for not inviting them, saying I was ungrateful and that I'd regret this decision. I hung up on her and blocked the number, my hands shaking with anger and stress. Despite this, Drama, the wedding was perfect. Aunt Sophia walked me down the aisle in place of my dad. Seeing her there, proud and supportive, helped ease the ache of my parents' absence. Alex's parents gave beautiful speeches that brought tears to my eyes. Our friends surrounded us with so much love and support that I almost forgot about the empty seats where my parents should have been. Almost. The ceremony was everything we'd hoped for. We wrote our own vows, and when Alex promised to always be my partner in my family, I felt a wave of peace wash over me. We danced, laughed, and celebrated with the people who chose to be there for us. The day after the wedding, still basking in the afterglow of the celebration, I woke up to find my social media flooded with messages. My mom had posted a long, dramatic status about how her ungrateful daughter had abandoned her family and broken her parents' hearts. She'd tagged the Millers in it, and they'd added their own comments about how they'd done so much for me. I was furious. This was the last straw. After taking some time to calm down and discuss it with Alex, I decided it was time to tell my side of the story. I made my own post, detailing everything the Millers had done, how my parents had chosen them over me, and how they'd tried to manipulate me. I ended it by saying that while I love my parents, I won't tolerate toxic behavior in my life anymore. The response was overwhelming. Friends, extended family, and even some of my parents' acquaintances reached out to offer support. Many shared their own stories of dealing with the Millers' manipulative behavior. It seems their reputation in the community isn't as stellar as my parents always made it out to be. As for my parents, they've gone radio silent. I don't know if they've seen my post or what they think of it. Part of me hopes this will be a wake-up call for them, but I'm not holding my breath. For now, I'm focusing on my new life with Alex. We're leaving for our honeymoon tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to some peace and quiet. When we get back, I plan to start therapy to work through all of this. I know it's going to take time to process everything that's happened. It's not the happy ending with my parents that I'd hoped for, but I'm at peace with my decisions. I chose to prioritize my mental health and my relationship with Alex, and I don't regret it. If my parents ever decide to respect my boundaries and truly listen to me, I'll be open to rebuilding our relationship. But for now, I'm moving forward with my new family, the one I've chosen.